Now, the National Prosecuting Authority's decision to withdraw fraud and corruption charges against former crime intelligence boss Richard Mdluli, remember him, created the impression he was being protected. That's what the Mokgoro inquiry heard yesterday. It is looking into the fitness of suspended top prosecutors Mokgoro and Lawrence Mkhwebi to hold office. Well, Govan Whittles is following that inquiry for us. Govan, good morning. Now, we see these two names coming up at the state capture inquiry. And they're being dealt with at a separate inquiry. Sort of how has the one filtered into the other, and what's been the response? And I'm sure that they've responded to what's come out of the state capture inquiry, because it goes directly to what they're being accused of in this one.
Certainly, the evidence leaders at the Mokgoro inquiry are actually keeping a close eye on the state capture inquiry. They've made a formal request for the affidavit in which Angelo Agrizi implicates Mokgoro and Lawrence Mkhwebi, but at the very start of the inquiry, Mokgoro and Lawrence Mkhwebi saying that they deny the allegations that they've received a bribe. They're also saying that they're willing to appear before the state capture inquiry. But at this stage, because Angelo Agrizi has only said that they were allegedly bribed through Mr. Mti from the Department of Correctional Services, there's no direct link yet. But the Mokgoro inquiry evidence leaders have said they're keeping a close eye on it. And after they're done with their prepared witnesses, then they'll decide whether it's necessary to bring the same people into this inquiry, because it does impact on their fitness to hold office.
Yeah, and you're having things said about the same people in two different inquiries. The snake and the snail, right? That's the name he used. Mokgoro the snake and Lawrence Mkhwebi the snail, because he was very slow. Okay, let's talk about what's coming out at the Mokgoro inquiry now. And Richard Mdluli, there's a name, you know, that we heard about almost every week for many, many years when all of this started coming to the fore. And let's talk about that decision to withdraw fraud and corruption charges against him. What have we heard?
Yeah, so Richard Mdluli featured prominently yesterday. That's because of the testimony by the prosecutor, Jan Ferreira. This is the prosecutor that actually was convinced that the case against Mdluli was strong enough to secure a successful prosecution. And yesterday he detailed the action that was taken by Advocate Lawrence Mkhwebi when he withdrew those charges against Mdluli, saying that both him and former NPA prosecutor Glenys Breitenbach were concerned that it appeared as if Mkhwebi was protecting Mdluli. And basically, he says, because based on the evidence that they had, even the smallest amount of evidence, the fact that Richard Mdluli signed a loan agreement with Atlantis Nissan for those two BMWs, that was enough, the prosecutor thinks, to secure successful prosecution. So basically, yesterday, the evidence leaders were trying to put the point forward that he thought it would work. But in the cross-examination, the advocate for Lawrence Mkhwebi was saying that he believes Mkhwebi acted logically, and all he was doing is following the NPA's prosecution policy. So here it's important to note that the inquiry is not trying to establish criminal or civil culpability. Instead, they're only trying to see whether Lawrence Mkhwebi and Mokgoro followed the NPA's prosecution's policy and then determine whether they're fit to hold office. So today, it seems as if we'll have a lot more cross-examination of Jan Ferreira. And
is that where we pick up today?
Yeah, that's what we're picking up today. Jan Ferreira is going to continue the cross-examination, and essentially Lawrence Mkhwebi's advocate and Mokgoro's advocate will try to set out and explain their version of events and kind of justify why they think they're still fit to hold office, even though this top prosecutor has been in the NPA since 1997. Believes that the case was strong enough. They'll have to prove that the case would have failed anyway in court to justify their decision and prove that they're fit to hold office.
So what have they seemed like throughout all of this so far, throughout this inquiry, the two of them?
Quite nervous. They haven't actually spoken to each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's something that we've seen, we've picked up on multiple days, that the interaction between them is very rare. And yesterday, I must say that while the testimony in the state capture inquiry about them was coming out, you would have Lawrence Mkhwebi paying attention to the evidence leaders and then checking his phone and then rushing out of the room. So it definitely seemed as if they were defending themselves on two fronts. And it would be interesting to see whether or not...
Rough week for Mokgoro and
for
Lawrence
both of them, yeah.
Okay, so you're back there today.
Yeah.
And we'll get the latest from Govan Whittles. He's following the Mokgoro inquiry. They're looking into the fitness of the suspended Mokgoro and Lawrence Mkhwebi to hold office. Just sport coming up with Michael in just a moment.